Merry Christmas to
Yeah,
you.
look at you, all Christmassy and
All
everything.
Christmassy, yes. And so do you as well. Well, I can see some part of your jumper. So I think maybe what you're missing. See, yes, I can see they had that as well. What you're missing really is something on your head, maybe.
Nah, it's all right. My head is okay. It's okay.
You're
And
the
the thing
father
you want on my
Christmas
head,
of
look at it on
sunlight.
my jumper. Look, it's got a little cap there, so that's all right. You see, this is the thing, right?
Oh,
Maybe yours
no.
is missing a head. Yours is missing a head. This
Oh,
is the
it's
cap
my
that's
head.
missing from yours.
See, it's
Yeah, yeah.
my head.
This is the
I'm
cap.
right here. Yeah. Merry Christmas, viewers. Thank you for joining us this morning. It is Christmas Day. Guys,
Yeah.
what are you doing? I mean, you know what, Prof? I think what would have been lovely is if people could send us pictures, pictures of whatever it is that they're doing today. Maybe the setup of the food, the setup of your Christmas
Yeah, why
tree,
not?
whatever
Why
it
not?
is,
Yeah, good. Why not share it? You can see our own Christmas trees in the background. Yes.
Well, it's at that time of the season. I know a lot of preparations have been made to us this day, and finally the day is here with us. We are all well and alive, so there is nothing to not be grateful for. We are grateful for life. Personally, I am grateful. You probably noticed I'm not home, so Christmas in another place. And this is the beauty of SonRise. We just take it everywhere we go. This morning, Prof, I know a lot of people are looking forward to service. They're looking forward to food with family and friends. For me, this year, the difference to last year is we're getting to spend Christmas with people we love, basically, as opposed to last year where some of us got time to get the opportunity to spend with people we love, and others, majority of the people had to spend alone. But thanks be to God, this year, we are all spending with friends and family. So, Prof, this morning, what are you grateful for about this particular Christmas day?
I think you've already mentioned the key element of it. Like you as well, I've got family over. So it's different. Of course, yeah, it's last Christmas I did. I wasn't in the country last Christmas, but I think the prevailing mood last Christmas was that it was more the exception than the norm, whereas this is the reverse. In this return to this year, this Christmas, it is the norm that people are able to spend with some family. I know that not in all parts of the UK, because I know in Scotland and in some parts of the nations or different other nations, you have some restrictions, but at least it's not quite as much as it was last year. So that is progress. And like we said last week, there is an element of Christmas that is about relationship. We talked about the relationship past, present, and future. And when you think of that, the relationships that we have, and not just in the spiritual sense, but in a temporal sense, right? It's a key element of what makes Christmas special, right? Because everybody gets the opportunity. I like the way you use the term opportunity, because right, the fact that there's the opportunity doesn't mean you want to spend time with family.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I think that's something different this Christmas, yeah.
Oh, that's really good. We said it's for me. As I said, it's an opportunity, to get, because before the pandemic, it was like the norm. Christmas is coming. You have the right to spend it with whoever you want to spend it with, and everything. Then come the pandemic, then you started. I mean, it was a case of we're being told what we could do, at that time, but. Praise be to God. As I said, for me, Christmas is a special time. At this time, I always say that, for this year, we talk about Christmas. Let's remember the reason for the season. Let's remember the reason for the season. It's not in the Christmas jumpers, in the Christmas trees, in the decorations and whatnot, and the food also. But it's about something, about someone, about what someone did for us, what a God did for us to keep us here, to give us this life that we all have. So for today, Prof, I know our time this morning is very short, but we wouldn't stop, or we wouldn't end the SonRise for Christmas today without actually explaining a little bit about what Christmas actually means for us as a people. So, Prof, I mean, as I always say, you're the minister of this show. So you read the Bible, you know, I read the Bible too, by the way. But yes, you have a special grace upon your life because you're a minister. So please, can you tell us what does Christmas mean? I mean, what does it mean to you and what should it mean to us as Christians?
I think that, you know, every year there's this conversation, right, about everything. It's like we go through these cycles. You know what? It's part of what gives our lives meaning, right? That you go around, I have some conversations all over again. Sometimes there are new ones, and I know that around many tables, around many fireplaces and so forth, there are conversations all over again. What's the point of Christmas?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we've dealt with that, and I'm pretty sure that will be being dealt with in different fora over this period, which is the sense that, yes, we understand that the date, we understand even the provenance of the celebration itself. Strictly speaking, it's not found in the Bible, okay? And we've talked in the past about the symbolism and the cultural element of these things. I remember last year we were talking about how it is that it's the celebration of it and what it means that counts, not the trappings, not the accoutrement, not the different things that you're using to celebrate it. So like you said earlier, not so much about the jumpers or the trees or the lack of it. And I talked about how it is that when you go to a culture that doesn't have fir trees or the trees that the Christmas trees themselves, what would you use? You're not going to import those. You would use things like what I have in my background, right? Because that's what you've got around you.
That's what you've got.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what you celebrate it, because it's not about food or drink, is about righteousness, peace, and the joy in the Holy Ghost. That's the kingdom of God we're talking about. And so I think a different element of what I want to talk about today as far as Christmas is concerned is this idea of a collective memory. Right? And the question is, I think is a deeper question, or a broader question, beyond just Christmas this time, but also around why do we celebrate things? Why do we mark certain days? Why do we mark certain events? And not all of them pleasant, right? Not all of them pleasant events. You would ask yourself, why do people sometimes remember things that caused pain? Why do people remember, to think of the world wars and the remembrance? I mean, you're talking of a gigantic, a humongous loss of lives and just things all around, but people remember these things. Why? And that's what I mean, the power of the collective memory. You see, individual memories by default, just because we are human, will fail, right? And that's not got anything to do with time or age, so to speak, but over time, you will not remember things as clearly as you did, right? If I ask most people, I know there are people who have such memories that they just never forget anything, but if I asked most people, what were you doing on 5th of September 1994, assuming you were alive then, most people would not remember. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. If I even asked them, what were you doing at midday a week ago, even at midday yesterday, some may not remember, right? In fact, if I asked them, what were you doing at 10:05 p.m. yesterday, you may not even remember. Yeah,
that's true.
So that's how fickle the individual memory is. When you commit something so important to the memory of a single person, there is such a risk that thing will be lost. Why is it important to remember things? Well, for one, when you remember things, you learn from them, right? If it's something that is negative, you learn from it so you don't repeat it. As they say, if we forget the mistakes of the past, then we're doomed to repeat those mistakes in the future. But there's also a remembrance in terms of preserving the truth.
Yes.
Because if you forget the truth, then as the Bible says, buy the truth, do not sell it. Yes, if you forget the truth, then what are you left with?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
and if you think of that example, you should say, you're my disciples if you do what I've asked you, and you will know the truth.
Yes.
And the truth will set you free. Yeah. The key element of knowing the truth is not forgetting it. It's not quite enough to know it today and then tomorrow you don't know it anymore because you've lost hold of it.
Yeah.
So when you find something as precious as the truth, what you do is that you preserve it. Now, how do you preserve it? You preserve it in memory. The issue is that you choose how to preserve it. You can either preserve it in an individual memory, or you can preserve it in a collective memory. Now, let's even forget the philosophical and I guess a hypothetical or intangible element of it. If you had money and you had a lot of money and this was important to you, anybody would say to you, well, you don't put all of it in one place, right?
One place, yes.
Because there's a greater risk of losing it. So they'd say, hang on, let's spread it around a little bit, share the love. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can see with some of the financial the big recession that happened just over 10 years ago, the Great Recession, where then there was this guarantee, FCA guarantee, if you like, of up to a certain amount of money, right? So the guidance would have more than that amount. Then there's even the policy in place to encourage you to spread it, to spread the risk. And so that's where you see the power of the collective memory, because suddenly you're not relying on a flawed memory of one or two individuals to remember this great event and to hold on to this truth. What you do is that you seed it into the collective memory. And how do you do it? What's the best way to do it? You do it through culture. Culture represents our shared values, our shared memories, our shared practices. And so you find what represents culture in song, in music, in stories, in just the very fabric of practice, and you weave it into it. Because then that means people don't have to say, I'm going to remember among all the other things I'm doing, I remember this particular thing. No, as I remember anything I'm doing, I remember this one. I think it's no wonder that Jesus said at the communion, the Last Supper before he went to the cross, he said, as often as you do this, do this in remembrance of me. Okay? So there is that calling on the power of remembrance. But what did he choose to embed that remembrance in? An everyday activity. Okay, it wasn't something different that you never did often. As often as you do this, it could be as simple as often as you break bread and eat wine, as often as you eat, you remember. It's embedded in our standard everyday practice, and that is our faith. Okay, that's why we say Christmas is not just for the season, it's for the reason. And because the reason is every day in our lives, we just choose this time to mark that. The fact that you remember a day, choose a day to celebrate your spouse's birthday, does not mean you don't remember them any other day, but it's you institutionalize it. And for those who may not know your spouse that well, they may not know how wonderful he is. Every year when the birthday comes around is an opportunity to remind them. So this is what we do for Christmas. So it's beyond, just having activities. It's really this idea of the power of a collective memory, of a shared memory. And so it's actually less about how that memory is shared, whether it's 25th December or 21st December or 31st January. Couldn't matter less. Couldn't matter less. It's not about the trappings and all of these, like I mentioned, are the cultural envelope in which you put. What matters is what inside it. When you open that envelope, it's the memory and it's the reason. And what is this reason? Back to where you started, Bibi. It's the reason that for God so loved that He gave.
He gave His only Son. Only because.
That's it, and that's the core message. With all of the stuff you're doing, you see, the envelope brings the letter to you. But you don't stop at the envelope, because you don't bring it and say, this envelope looks so nice, so I'm not going to open the letter, I'm going to stick the envelope on the wall. Nobody does that, because everybody recognizes that no matter how beautiful the envelope looks, in fact, the more beautiful the envelope looks, the quicker we are to shred it and see what's inside, because that means there's something even better inside, right? And so that's it. So let's not get distracted by the envelope. Let's not get distracted by the video. It's the message that's the most important thing. And unfortunately, a lot of people have somehow lost sight of what's inside. And actually, some people may not realize that the envelope is supposed to carry a message, because they've only ever been told about the envelope and they thought the envelope was the point of it. No, it's not. It's just a carrier of a message. And I think as we have this discussion today, Bibi, it's an opportunity for us to invite people who are watching to think about what's in that envelope that they received. Yes, that gift that you have that is wrapped for today and you haven't opened for so long. Open the gift, because it's not about the wrapping. It's about the gift itself that is inside.
And so, Prof, I like the way you've said that, because even after you've opened the gift, it's like today, as Christmas Day, all the gifts you're going to open, trust me, you probably forget most of them for today. You really need another day to then go over every single one of them. So this is what we're saying about, spending that time to reflect on the reason for the season, the person of Christ, who we are all celebrating today. So if after all of the festivities and and whatnot and everything, you have your own quiet moment where you can reflect on the envelope that you've received. Okay, what does this mean to me? What's the message in here from me? What do I need to do? What do I need to do to take this forward from here until next year? And I like the fact that every single year we always look forward to Christmas, because in a way that also helps to carry that message with us, to remember to have that person of Christ with us every single day, to remember, oh, there's Christmas coming, so that's Christmas about Jesus. So yes, we're praising Jesus, and you can reflect on the good things that's come your way, and even those things that went so good, they all work together for our good, and that's why we're all still here today.
And that's a brilliant note on which to say, I know we're having fun, but I know everybody wants to get back to their Christmas meal and to their festivities, and I think we want to say, baby, we also want to get back to ours, right? So
absolutely, yes. As you can see, in case you haven't noticed, I am standing, so I really need to go
I need to run,
and get back to the fun. Yes. Merry Christmas, all.
Merry
so great to have you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Enjoy the day.
See you in the new year. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.